So it seems that a massive box set of plastic Heresy era Space Marines is on its way. Let's talk about an enormous release that's somewhere on the horizon. Hello and welcome back to Allspecs Tactics, where we've been covering the Adepticon previews, where Games Workshop really did give us quite a lot of news this time. Not only have we got 2 Chaos Knights, new codexes and the army set for them, and also the mythic 2 Wound Chaos Marines on the horizon, both of which I've covered in previous videos, but they've also confirmed the previous rumours that the Horus Heresy was getting a massive new do-over in plastic, a new edition of Warhammer 30k, 2 new plastic Space Marine models revealed, though by revealing them, they've kind of confirmed the enormous box set that was on the way that was leaked previously, which we'll go through in full in the video. So I'm sure most of you will be aware that I generally tend to cover Warhammer 40k on the channel, not really the Horus Heresy, but this is pretty enormous news, and it is quite nice the amount of overlap you can have between the two games, particularly with some of the more generic models fielded either for Space Marines or Chaos. The Horus Heresy rules have seen kind of patchy support over the years, generally being run by Forge World, who did have a bit of a reputation for releasing their rules kind of irregularly, but I believe that Games Workshop made an effort throughout 8th and 9th edition to consolidate the rules in one team, so that some of their products wouldn't get neglected. In any case, as rumoured, there's a new edition of Horus Heresy out, with a shiny new logo. There'll be new core rules, probably reissuing the army rules as well, and they have confirmed that it's still going to be based on the more classic 7th edition Warhammer 40k rules, so no things like modifying saving throws, and vehicle armour facings and things are all very much intact. It's probably a smart decision to keep it that way, to be honest. That way they can appeal to different people, maybe people who aren't quite as much a fan of the 8th and 9th edition 40k rules. I think for the majority of people those updates were quite well received, myself included to be honest, but no one rule set is going to perfectly please everyone. So just from a rule set point of view, the Horus Heresy does give you an interesting different way to play a very similar game to 40k. Perhaps the two most interesting reveals were the 2 new plastic models. Both of these I believe that they confirmed in the chat that they will be indeed coming from the boxed game that's the launch box for Horus Heresy. So just a bit of a teaser compared with all the rest of the models in the box, but as I mentioned we do have most of the pictures of those already, which we'll get onto in a second. The armour mark for the Space Marines within is the Mark 6 Beaky armour. I think the helmets divide opinions a little bit, personally I do really quite like them, and they do hark back to the Road Trader days and the very first plastic kits they produced for Space Marines. It's kind of hard to tell from single models being previewed, but in general with the recent Horus Heresy character releases, they are on a slightly bigger scale than the previous ones, which could be a bit annoying for people if these are very slightly taller than the other Space Marines that they have at the moment. Would just be a bit unhelpful if you're trying to create a cohesive force. It does seem to be the way that they're going, even with Firstborn Space Marine releases at the moment. For example, in Warhammer 40k, Castellan Crow was upscaled compared with his Grey Knight brethren, and just looking at him, this guy does look really quite chunky, so I wouldn't be too surprised if that turns out to be accurate. In any case, I do think that the model looks really quite nice. It probably quite intentionally has a very classic looking feel to it, very much embracing the old style of 40k artwork, more so than these new and technological Primaris Marines. The fact that it's coming from a box set really is quite cool as well. The Betrayal at Calth and Burning of Prospero ones were both really quite good ones for 40k sets as well. If it's anything like similar value to those ones, then it could be a good time for Space Marine collectors who want to jump into the army with a whole load of plastic models. The other one that was revealed is a Legion Praetor, basically a generic Heresy era commander who's kind of like a captain level. And it's interesting that this one's got really quite a lot of ornamentation going on, but also nothing particularly chapter specific on him, so he can be fielded with any legion or chapter should you wish to. Definitely looks like it'd be a fun option for a Space Marine captain with something like a mastercrafted power weapon or something, and I'm sure you could potentially do a bit of conversion work if say you wanted to give him a storm shield. That's a very meaty and threatening looking power axe there. Again, he just feels like a very solid and chunky model, and of course he is standing upon the mandatory tactical rock. It will be interesting to see exactly how many Heresy releases come out in plastic after these. I do wonder if Games Workshop is just trying to get as many things out of Forge World resin as possible. We have had those previous Heresy era kits like Betrayal at Calth come out in plastic already, but then interestingly some of those recent heroes like Fafnir Wren, they came out in plastic too. That's not something that they've typically done before for individual character releases, so it certainly could set the trend going forward. I think that will generally be a good thing for Heresy. Plastic really is just a lot easier to work with than resin, a lot easier for customizing and chopping up and putting together kits. In any case, as mentioned, we did see a massive Horus Heresy box set leaks previously. Very much looks like the same sort of publicity photos they did say for the Indomitus box, so it really could be a truly colossal amount of plastic on the table. Just like in that epic cinematic trailer they just released for it, it does appear to be Sons of Horus versus Imperial Fists, a ton of Mark VI era tactical marines, a Contemptor dreadnought with an autocannon and cyclone missiles, a whole bunch of Cataphracta Terminators and a Spartan tank, and plenty more. I think just basically having those two models revealed basically confirms that this is indeed legitimate, as they do happen to be featured in the shots. The photo on the right is just about as big an image as they have of the box set. You can see the Sons of Horus Legion Praetor in the centre there, that is the same model, and presumably our bayonet guys somewhere in the tactical squad in the centre. Overall, if all of this is included, there's two characters, both of them probably Legion Praetors. The Imperial Fist one that we've seen is squaring off against appears to have a power sword and a Volkite weapon of some kind. It looks like there's around 20 or 30 of the Mark VI Corvus Armour Marines, some of them having a few interesting things like chain bayonets or plasma pistols, 5 to 10 Cataphracta Terminators with mixed loadouts, lots of lightning claws, some chain fists, the Contemptor dreadnought with the twin autocannon, and the Spartan tank, basically the Land Raider on steroids with quad las cannons. I'm really kind of unsure whether they'd actually be able to put all of this in one box as the starter set. In general, Games Workshop have pushed the boat out with some of the starter sets before. The Indomitus one was really quite impressive and included a whole bunch of Marines and Necrons, but just because of the really big things like the Spartan in this, it does seem like it'd be pretty excessive, even above and beyond that release. Obviously, if it was all included, then it'd be a really cool set, but I will bear in mind that it would probably cost an awful lot more than most of the normal starter boxes. I feel like you could be looking in excess of £150 or $250 for this kind of stuff, though I guess that might fit in with Games Workshop generally selling Horus Heresy as a bit more of a luxury product, often with even higher prices than their standard expensive Warhammer releases. In any case though, it really looks like there's a whole load of awesome in this. Really cool in the way that you could use basically all of the models for just one big army if you wanted to, and I'm sure a lot of people will be very keen to get their hands on it, even if it does wind up costing a fair bit. Finally, just to mention, I really do recommend watching that pretty awesome cinematic trailer that they came out with. I'll leave a link to it down in the video description below. Imperial fists fighting Sons of Horus on all sorts of worlds across the galaxy, Titans blasting each other in the background, ranks of mass space marines, and I thought it was quite brave of them to actually animate and voice Horus himself. Not often that you see a Primarch rendered in animation in quite so much detail. Overall though, really quite big news there. Really quite nice to get confirmation that the Plastic Heresy stuff really is coming. As always, let me know your thoughts on it or anything else I might have missed down in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, or I'll certainly keep the regular 40k stuff coming. I usually try and post new videos just about every day. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics has a Patreon page, which is down in the video description. The channel's Patreon is what allows me to keep on making videos quite this regularly, so if you are enjoying a lot, any support is just enormously appreciated. I'm always so grateful to you guys for allowing me to do this as basically my full-time thing. If you're interested, feel free to check out the link, it's down in the video description. In any case, an enormous thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.